What's up guys, this is Inhander from Fear Productions, and today I'm going to be doing a disassembly video of the Tippmann TMC. Been a lot of videos popping up on our channel about this, so this will be the last video until we actually get it out on the field on July 8th. So what I'm going to do, I didn't actually secure the handguard. The screw that's right here secures the handguard into the marker. I went ahead and left that in for right now, so when you unscrew that and pull out, the handguard will come off. So we'll go ahead and set that aside right now, which leaves the detent for the mag fed, or if you have the hopper, this would have to come off as well. So right here, we're just going to unscrew that. And pull the detent cap off, set that aside. I forgot to mention you will need a Phillips head screwdriver and your typical Tippmann Allen wrench that I have in my gear bag now, so I just pulled out one of my Allen wrench sets. I think it's a 1/8. So we have screws. Sorry for the lighting in here guys, it's not very good. We have screws here and here for the handguard, right above the trigger, right in the back above your thumb, and there are three screws in the grip, as well as one on the other side that requires the Phillips head screwdriver. So I'm going to go ahead and unscrew those, and I'll be right back. Okay, now that I've got all the screws removed, I'm going to go ahead and separate the halves here. You have to be really careful because it's a little bit different on the inside. There's a couple extra parts in here that aren't in a 98 or a A5, any of the stock Tippmann markers, so you got to be a little careful. But one thing you want to do is put the marker into the fire position. Do that, and then let's go ahead and separate the grip halves here. As you see, that exposes the air line. So it's not a macro line or anything, it's good metal air line. Now what we're going to do is just slowly split the receivers in two here to expose the internals. I'm going to go ahead and flip this way to make it a little easier for me. Like I said, just be really careful. You might want to push down on the trigger to hold it down because it's likely going to be captive in the left receiver. There we go. So it's random how it's going to come out. This time it actually pulled the power tube out with it, but it's okay. So slowly flip this around here and I'll show you what we got going on here. I'm going to set this portion aside for right now, and we're going to focus on the left-hand receiver. I'm going to go ahead and pull what you're going to do is slide the trigger out here very carefully. There's a trigger bar that keeps it captive up against the air tube. So here's the trigger. We're going to lay that aside for now. There's the pin that retains the trigger. I'm going to go ahead and put that back into the right-hand receiver. And with that, you can go ahead and lift the power tube bolt assembly out with the airline. As you can see, it's pretty much your typical stock Tippmann power tube and bolt, with the only difference being this metal piece back here. Did that probably for just reinforcement. Your airline does rotate, obviously. That's not unscrewing, that's how it's meant to be. Same thing with the bottom here, it rotates. You can also take the ASA off, like so. And it's captive with a couple O-rings down in there, so it holds it in pretty good. So we're going to set that aside for right now. Now there's, other than the trigger bar that holds that in, which I'll show you where that goes here in a second, This is the left-hand receiver. So what we have here is the safety selector switch and the mag release. Now I actually need to screw this in one or two more times because I didn't get it in enough. Oh, there we go. That was too much tension. Didn't get it in enough the last time I was tinkering around with all this, so I went ahead and just tightened it one more time. That's all there is to the left-hand receiver here. So I'm going to set it aside, and we're going to talk about everything in this portion of the receiver. Now, let's set the trigger aside here. This is your charging handle. As you can see, it's modified to match a AR-15 charging handle near the back, and instead of just having the bar and spring that you'd see on a 98 or an A5, it's actually captive within the charging handle. And it has to, when you lock it in here, it has to lock into this the little divot for it, but I'll go over that in a minute as well. Now, I'm not going to take everything out of here, guys. I just want to show you the trigger mechanism. I'm going to get this spring out here. That's the trigger spring. I'll take the trigger pin out too, just to be on the safe side. And the connecting bar and all that, we'll leave all of this in here. I don't see a need to take it out. The buffer tube assembly does stay attached to the right-hand side of the marker, so you don't have to worry about taking your stock off. So we have the sear and the sear spring back here, the two pins, and this is one of the pieces that help actuate the trigger. Now, that's pretty basic for a Tippmann. You know, you have your the rear bolt back here. Pretty much all standard stuff. I mean, this one's a little bit different size than your typical A5. I believe it is. I think the other ones are a lot thicker in diameter than that. To address some questions I've been getting about Tippmann possibly releasing either an air out back option or a air through stock assembly. I think Tippmann's teasing us, because if you look here, what does that look like to you? That's a channel for an airline, and it just so happens that you can pull this little spacer out. That's all it is, a little plastic spacer that sits in there to block that hole. So that says to me that Tippmann's going to be making something, hopefully soon, for an air out back or air through stock option. And if that's the case, I will be purchasing it as soon as it's released, because I would love to have the air through stock option, or even the air out back option. That would be great too. But that was a very big point of interest. When I pulled this apart the first time and I saw that, I knew they had something up their sleeves. So Tippmann, if you're working on it, I hope it's released soon. So we're going to go ahead and replace that little nubbin in there. I'm going to set it back down here. And we're going to go ahead and start reassembling here. Now bear with me, this is only the second time I've been doing that, or I've ever done this, so it's still relatively a new process to me. We're going to put the trigger pin back in, as well as reinstalling the trigger here and the trigger spring. Really similar to 98 Custom or even an A5. And now what we need to do, where did I put it? We need to get the power tube and bolt assembly back on here. Let's see if I can get a little bit of zoom in here for you. My zoom's not wanting to work. So we're just going to set everything back down in here where it's supposed to go. Take the bolt out for a second. Set the power tube assembly down in. Push back a little bit so it can lock in down here in the lower airline track like it's supposed to. We're going to take the bolt, slip it on, and go ahead and lock it with the rear bolt here. There we go. Make sure they are connected. Now this little nubbin right here, hopefully you can see it. That's going to interface with the charging handle, so keep that in mind. We want to get the trigger bar and it goes in the hole there that's on the trigger and marries up to the one in the transfer bar, or the actuation assembly up here. So make sure all your springs are in good and tight. You don't want those flying out. I've had that happen way too many times and had to call Tippmann for them to send me some new ones, which they do, by the way. Their customer service is really good. If you guys have ever had to talk to them, they're great. Now the charging handle, it's going to sit down, of course, in the track, and the little nubbin here interfaces with the back of the charging handle and that little track. Just make sure that when you put it in here, it actually has to get captured. Of course, it's fighting me on it this time. You need to pull the spring up a little bit, that's what it is, and then lay it down in. That way, there we go, it locks in. So what, I'll do it again here for you. You want to take the spring, move it up just a little bit so only the bar is exposed, set it in here, just like that, and it'll clip around this the little claws that latch around just the bar itself. So everything's back in. Here comes a little tricky part. Make sure everything's sitting down in there the way it should. We want to get the left-hand receiver, and what we're going to do, again, make sure it is set to the fire position. You're going to want to jimmy everything as slowly as you can down in, and you're going to have to pull the trigger. When you pull the trigger, you should slide down right into place like that. Check your alignment. Make sure everything has seated the way it should, which looks like I'm good to go. And then you can start to put your screws back in. Now there are different length screws. I believe the top two screws are shorter screws. So these guys up here, I'm going to go ahead and secure them a little bit. This and the other three screws, I believe, are the same size. No. Your handguard screw up here at the top, that's going to be a little bit longer. I'm not going to put it in yet. And the other two are medium-sized screws that will go into the rear and right above the trigger. Okay. Again, like I said, I'm not going to put the handguard screw in just yet. Let's go ahead and get at this point, test for function for your trigger. Okay, we're good to go. We're going to go ahead and reinstall the grips. They should just click right into place, like so. Now the grip has 3 different size screws, and I just messed up my orientation. I believe the longest screw goes on the bottom, the middle screw goes right up here, and the short screw, which I just messed that up. Sorry about that, guys. Short screw goes on top, medium screw goes in the middle, long screw goes on the bottom. And then go ahead and just tighten those down. Okay. I'm going to reinstall, because I had to take it off, my rear iron sight. Okay, now that the rear sight's reinstalled here, I'm going to go ahead and reinstall the detent panel, the detent plate. And it kind of just lays right in there. And that's pretty much it. I don't have the barrel out here, but I'll go ahead and reinstall the handguard. Handguard reinstalled. Just put the handguard screw back in, tighten it, secures the handguard to the marker, and then of course we want to test for function, so let's pull the charging handle. Good, 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 good. Okay, there was a little bit of resistance when I first did it there. I think that's because it was kind of crunched on the spring, but as you can see, we're good. So just make sure you pay careful attention to that spring, just like a 98 Custom. When you reinstall the receiver halves, make sure it's aligned properly. You might get that little grind there I had at the beginning. But, so that's that, guys. That is the disassembly and the reassembly of the Tippmann TMC. I'm very, very excited to get this marker out on the field and put some rounds through it. I'm probably going to be picking up another 2 mags and just a typical cheap red dot ACOG to put on top of this just for looks. I don't think I'm ever going to use it, although there have been times where I have used red dots on paintball markers and they have turned out very favorable in my defense. But hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments section below. You can also join discussion if you want to post messages or send me messages or posts on Facebook. It's just facebook.com/fearpaintball. So thank you guys for watching and hope to see you soon. Have a good day.